Alright, so this is our last video for January's confirmation class. So we are going to cover the fruits of the Spirit. So in most places, if you look up fruits of the Spirit, you will see 9 listed there. They are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. In the Catholic Church, we add an additional 3 that have traditionally been talked about throughout the early Christian faith, and it's something that the Catechism, when it was formally created, kind of incorporated because they thought they were also important because they were talked about frequently in the Bible and by the Church Fathers. And those are generosity, modesty, and chastity. So in class, what we did is that every person, I did chastity, and then everybody else picked one fruit of the Spirit out of the hat, and everybody did like a quick 30-second sound bite about that particular fruit of the Spirit and what it might mean and look like. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go over those with you. Love would pertain to love of God and love of others, and even to love of self, but not in like a bragging or prideful way, but just like treating yourself appropriately. Caring for yourself as far as hygiene goes, and taking the time for your mental health and your well-being, making sure that you're spending time with your family, your friends, recharging your batteries a little bit, making sure that you're allotting time to God that is His, that you're attending Mass, that you're praying, that you're reading your Bible, and then love for others, making sure that we're not just giving back in big ways, but also in small ways. That smile to a stranger, that hello, that helping somebody in school that dropped something and they're trying to pick it all up and put it back in their binder. Just looking for little ways throughout the day that we can show love to other people. Joy. Joy is not to be confused with happiness. We are not always going to be happy, but we can find joy even in the moments of our life that are not that great. Like when my grandmother passed away, I was really sad, but I also found joy in the fact that she was going to be in heaven with God. So I wasn't obviously happy that she had passed away, but I was joyful over the fact that she would be with God. I'm not always happy when I am exhausted and sleep deprived and I'm trying to get my kids to bed and they're screaming. But there is still joy to be found in the fact that I have 2 healthy children, and then the fact that I have a roof over my head to raise them in, and that God is providing for us and that God has blessed me with them. So there are ways to find joy in life even when you're not particularly happy in that particular moment. Happiness and sadness are things that go in like a roller coaster, just as we go through the normal course of life. Joy is something that is a constant that we can find no matter what the circumstances are. Peace. This can refer to finding peace in God's plan and kind of not trying to fight Him and where He's leading you. It can also be peace in the sense that you are not seeking conflict with others or seeking to create conflict between others. Patience. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Be patient with other people. Be patient with yourself. Try not to demand people to meet your schedule all the time. If somebody's having a hard day and they're a little bit snappy or they're not as focused, you gotta extend them some of that patience, some of that grace, that mercy. Kindness and goodness, they kind of wrap together in love, where you are showing kindness to people and you are treating others kindly and doing the right thing. And then goodness is more of an inward light, where you are living a life that is Christ-like and holy, and you are demonstrating that by being a good person. Generosity obviously is giving to others instead of being selfish or greedy, sharing what you have with other people, especially if you have an abundance. Gentleness, so treating others with compassion. If you have a criticism to make of somebody, saying it gently, saying it calmly, saying it in terms that are not so harsh. being physically gentle with others, using kind and appropriate touches with people, not being too rough like with younger siblings or too rough with the adults in your life, always making sure that you're treating them with gentleness and respect. Faithfulness, that is both faithfulness to God, so following his commandments, his prescriptions, the things that he wants us to do, and also being faithful to others, like keeping your promises, doing what you say you're going to do. It's fidelity in romantic relationships, things like that. Self-control is another one that is pretty self-explanatory, whereas we are having willpower and not giving in to temptations. It's being able to say no to things that we should say no to, and being able to say yes to things that we should say yes to. Making sure that we are choosing to do the right thing, even when it might not be the popular or the enticing or the fun thing. And then I saved the two that are connected for last, because I think modesty and chastity are oftentimes confused with each other. Modesty has to do more with your actions, whereas chastity has to do more with your body. Modesty, as far as your thoughts and actions, can refer to how you dress. It can refer to how you speak about yourself, being humble, being modest in your accomplishments and not bragging about yourself. Modesty can be where you're not putting so much of yourself out there all the time. And then chastity refers to the actual like physical act of keeping yourself pure until marriage. So those are the 12 Catholic fruits of the Spirit. Again, there's 9 that were mentioned specifically in the Bible in a group together, and then there's the additional 3 of generosity, modesty, and chastity that the fathers of the church noticed were written about often. They were still talked about often in the Bible, and they were things that clearly stemmed from having a life that was faith-filled. So they added those 3 in because they are also extremely important. So those are the 12. So the last couple questions here are going to ask you just to reflect a little bit on the fruits of the Spirit and list, which ones you think that you are pretty successful at already and which ones you think that you struggle with or that you might struggle with in the future as an adult. And then lastly, I just have on here